Howdy. So the most accurate predictor of how someone will vote is how they self-identify. Believe you're a liberal? You'll vote Democrat. Believe you're a conservative? You'll vote Republican. Our self-identification weighs more heavily than issues, unless those issues are immense and immediate, like now. What has happened is one's party is now driving opinion rather than your opinion on an issue driving you towards a party. So why bring this up now, the day before the election? Well, we know that the majority of early ballots returned generally skew Democratic. So that means the people who will vote on election day will generally skew conservative. And for me, that's the group I need to talk with. In study after study, it's been shown that about 1/3 to 1/2 of the people who vote Republican and self-identify as conservatives are actually not conservative at all. They simply believe they are. They may have been raised in a conservative household and have conservative friends and family, but when they are asked about their opinions on topics and issues, they are surprisingly liberal. And so the question is this: does the Republican Party of Wisconsin actually represent what you believe, or do you simply believe you are a Republican because your parents are, or because you have always been? One of the most clear-cut personality traits of the conservative mindset is a high level of loyalty, and the Wisconsin GOP thrives off of that, and fear. Here's the Wisconsin State GOP 2020 platform. It is an insistence on loyalty above everything else, and set to the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to be somewhat sarcastic, but sadly serious when I say it sounds like a 12-year-old mafia boss wannabe wrote it. I'll put a link below for you. You understand loyalty should be earned, not demanded. John McCain did not demand loyalty. Tommy Thompson did not demand loyalty. But the current Wisconsin State GOP does. Dave Craig is the senator I'm running to replace, and he was set to run unopposed again. However, he voted against the GOP budget. He voted his conscience against his own party. I respected that vote. And the day after I announced my candidacy, weeks after he had filed to run again, after he'd started to raise money and gather signatures, he dropped out of the race. Loyalty should go both ways. But loyalty is rewarded. My opponent, Julian Bradley, is a staunch Republican. And he moved to Franklin, a district gerrymandered 25 to 30% in his favor. And now he fully expects you to pay him $53,000 a year for his loyalty to Voss and Fitzgerald. My salary will be donated to local charities. So why do I say he's being rewarded for his loyalty? Simple. He's provided absolutely no plans, no information. He's not even addressed issues that are important and impact your daily life. COVID, healthcare, education. Here's his campaign website. 6 bullet points, pulled straight from the GOP. Abortion, number 1, something he will never be impacted by, yet he feels he has the right to impose his will on you. I did a video talking about the legal and philosophical aspects of abortion laws. The Second Amendment, that same lie that Democrats are coming for your guns. No, we aren't. And I can hear you say, but Beto said he was coming for my AR-15. Well, how did that work out for him? You see, Democrats own guns too, and they shot down Beto. Sorry, I don't normally use puns, but I couldn't resist. So that should tell you something right there. Now, can we have a sensible conversation about gun laws? Public safety. Let's really ramp up the fear. Portland is burning. Kenosha is burning. Get those dangerous criminals off the street. Are there dangerous criminals terrorizing the streets of Muskego and Waterford? And he's claimed Dems want to defund the police. Listen, that's a terrible term, and I curse the day some idiot came up with that phrase. But no, I don't want to defund the police. But hundreds of thousands of people have been marching all around the country for months. Are we so callous and blindly loyal that we are not even willing to acknowledge their challenges? Tommy Thompson spent weeks talking with those most in need when revamping welfare programs in Wisconsin. We were once compassionate conservatives. Yes, I used to vote Republican. Reopening the state, this is Julian's standard line, and it comes straight from the GOP playbook. Governor Evers was picking winners and losers, and he points with one hand and then the other, but he offers no examples. And more importantly, has no ideas, no plans. He's not allowed to. Badger Bounce Back, like it or not, was a duplicate plan of the White House plan. Evers was literally implementing the COVID plan from the White House. And the state GOP legislature has the full authority to overturn that order. The emergency statute state, all they had to do was vote. Instead, they spent millions of your tax dollars on outside lawyers to overturn that emergency in the courts. Why? I had lunch with a Republican friend. He's 61 years old and a lifelong Republican. I asked him that question, and he looked at me and he said, Adam, because they are cowards. He's right. If they take a stand, they risk losing, and so they won't take a stand. If COVID goes away, they can say, see, Evers was wrong. And if COVID continues to worsen, they can say it's Evers' fault for not doing something when they wouldn't allow him to do anything. And so Julian Bradley has said nothing about COVID. 8 months of silence while he knocked on your doors without a mask, because he is loyal to their cowardice. Taxes, high taxes don't kill growth, they encourage it. Low taxes on the bottom 80%, that encourages growth. That's my plan. This is just fluff. No explanation, no goals. Don't believe me? State revenue grew by 34% under Scott Walker, and the GOP spent it all. Voting. In the last few days, this has just become an egregious offense, what the GOP has done around the country, as they fight to legally have votes disqualified. We went more than 200 years without requiring an ID to vote. Voter fraud is beyond rare. In 2019 in Wisconsin, there were 24 votes cast in all of the elections, and out of millions of votes in Wisconsin, which were reported for potentially fraud. 24. You know as well as I do that you cherish your voting rights, but the GOP does not. And I did a whole video on gerrymandering. But Bradley won't commit to fair maps. Why would he? And there you have it, Julian's entire campaign. No details, no ideas, nothing that actually benefits you. Where's the healthcare discussion? Julian regularly says we need to take a good, hard, long look. He's been at this for 20 years. Obamacare was passed 10 years ago. How much longer and harder does he need to look in order to come up with an idea? Any idea. But loyalty demands the Democratic bill, even though based on a Republican policy, can't be allowed to stand. If you are 18 to 26 years old, or you have kids or grandkids in that range, they are covered by their parents' health insurance because of Obamacare. If you have a pre-existing condition, the GOP is fighting to overturn your insurance coverage. You won't be covered because we can't ask insurance companies to cover those who are the most expensive if there are not subsidies or healthy people participating. But Julian doesn't care about your health care. He'll be covered along with his salary. And what about education? Nada. Education is the single biggest variable impacting income, opportunity, health, wealth, crime. Want less crime? More money? A better economy? Better health? More education is the answer. Julian says nothing about education. All the candidates received a letter from Governor Tommy Thompson, who is now the president of the UW system. He wants a 3.5% increase in funding. He wants to increase grants and allow more Wisconsinites to go to UW and to technical schools. He wants a branch in the prisons so that when people get out, they have somewhere to go and a background to use. We need to make K-16 a standard in Wisconsin and include the trades in that, because not everybody actually has to go to college. Julian says nothing about education because the GOP continues to cut education funding. And what about COVID? If you think it's a hoax, even if you think it's not a danger, And let's be honest, for most of District 28, it hasn't been severe. But here's what the GOP has not done. They haven't considered the economic impact of doing nothing and opposing everything Evers tries. Here's what I mean. As cases slowed over the summer, we started to open back up. Had the GOP come out and said, we absolutely agree with wearing masks and social distancing, everyone wear a mask, the economic loss would have been less because more people would have complied. Yeah, there still would have been those shaking their fists at the perceived freedoms being taken away. But more people would have complied, which would have slowed the spread, kept it out of the VA hospitals, and allowed us to get to stage 3 of the White House plan and open up a little more. But the economic impact of the GOP opposing Evers, discouraging people from wearing masks, is obvious and significant right now. Collaboration would have been so much more effective. However, their fear of losing power is greater than their willingness to protect us and our economy. Speaking of fear, let me quote a resident from District 28. If I had a magic genie and just one wish, I would wish all members of Black Lives Matter and Antifa were wiped from the face of the earth. That would be a good start on my American dream. I don't believe that's the wish or dream of the average conservative voter. And I know when such blatant racism and hatred become acceptable, that is not the American dream. But loyalty now requires your acceptance of that vision, and the loudest voices demand it. And so, does the GOP deserve your loyalty, your vote? Do you believe in them? Finally, for those of you who made it this far and are saying, yeah, but you didn't tell us anything about what you believe in. You're right. I believe these issues require more than a bullet point on a website. We've recorded videos comparing Julian and my interviews. We've created videos on marijuana legalization. I'm for it. Dairy farms and tariffs. Tariffs are so stupid. On COVID, healthcare and insurance, taxation, abortion, gerrymandering, mail-in ballots, and voter fraud. I believe in people's liberties and the economy before partisan philosophy. I'm a capitalist who owns a software company he started 16 years ago, who recognizes how much he benefits from the success of society and wants to see that grow because it makes us all more money. I'll leave you with 2 stories. First, a quick one. A Republican friend smokes weed, but doesn't think it should be legalized because other people aren't as responsible as he is. Second, I had a conversation with some conservative friends who said they were voting for Trump because they paid more taxes under Obama than Bush. I started to point out that the Bush tax cuts ended under Obama because the cuts didn't pay for themselves. They were making more money than they had been making 8 years ago, that they were paying less interest on their custom-built Muskego home, and that their kids might no longer be a deduction now that they were out of the house. Of course they were paying more. And they looked at me and said, Adam, we can't talk about this because you can speak more intelligently to it than we can. What do you say to those arguments? What I offer is someone who will study the issues, someone who will engage for hours and explain them as best I can, and someone who will listen to others, admit when he is wrong, and genuinely apologize. Find that in a politician. I'm someone who does not work through the lens of a partisan philosophy and who will never govern from memes and bullet points. Now, as Julian would say, it's up to you to take a good, hard, long look and decide if what you believe about yourself today matches who you plan to vote for tomorrow. Thank you again for watching, and please vote safely on Tuesday. Thanks.